Okay. So when Janice told me that she had standing room only on my first event, I thought, okay, there's something really special about this lady that these people who don't even know who I am are coming on her word alone. She must be amazing, and she is. And I got to tell you, I don't have a sewing machine dealer within like 3 hours of my house. I would do anything to have her in my backyard. She's so amazing. She is. And she's, whenever you go to Baby Lock Tech, she's up there top 10 in the country. And I just get so proud when I see her because I'm like, that's my friend Janice. Anyway, I'm Pam, and I'm here with Pam Mashey. So we're like Pam Squared or the Pam team today. And I just love working with this lady. She is amazing, and I'm glad I'm going first because she is a tough act to follow. Anyway, so I'm going to do a little bit of stuff on the serger and a little bit of stuff on the sewing machine. So today I'm just going to show you some fun stuff from some of my patterns and my books. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to thread my serger. I have a quilt here on the front table that is from my book, Power Serge. And where is my book? I will show you. So I'll pass this around so you can all look at it. This is my serger book that I wrote with Betty Mitchell. And
You want me to pass two of them around?
yeah, pass two around, sure. So Betty and I wrote a book together called Hold Everything. It's our bag book, which I know a lot of you still already have. And the day that this went to the printer, we started our serger book. I mean, we knew right away that we had this serger book that we needed to get out. And we absolutely love that book. And what I find really exciting is that sewing machines outsell sergers 7-to-1. You would think that that bag book would outsell my serger book 7-to-1. It's almost equal. They're both in their second printing now, which is great. And we still sell a ton of serger books. The only serger you'll see pictured in that book is the Baby Lock. And that's because when we were writing the book, all the other companies still had their airjet threaders in development. Baby Lock was the only one, and the Triumph was just coming out. They sent us a loaner machine even before it came out so we could use it in our book. So if you have a different brand, just look at the name of the stitch and look in your manual. And the nice thing about the new Berninas is you just need to look on the screen and it tells you what to do. It sets it automatically. And I have both sergers, so just so you know, I have two Baby Locks up here, but I have both brands and I love them both. So I think they make a great partnership. And you know, it's okay to have more than one brand and more than one serger and more than one sewing machine. How many of you have more than one child? Would you get rid of one of them? No. Well, it's the same thing with sewing machines, right? You love them all, right? And you love them all equally, right? People say, what's your favorite machine? It's the one I'm sewing on right now. Okay, so I'm going to thread my serger here. How many here do not have an airjet threading serger? Raise your hand. Don't be embarrassed. Okay, I got to tell you, the airjet threading sergers are a game changer. And if you have a serger that your friend gave you because she got a new one, there's a reason why she gave it away. Okay? I'm serious. I mean, if you have an old, like Fran has an old serger she's trying to get rid of. She's like, I don't know what to do with this. I'll take it on my mission trip and I'll give it to someone that really needs it who can't afford to buy a serger. Right. But Fran sews on this serger and she's thinking about a Bernina too.
I didn't use my serger because it was such a pain in the tube to thread. And now, like that.
So I'm rethreading this with some heavy thread because one of the things that Baby Lock is well known for is its wave stitch. So I'm not going to sew a whole lot to demo because I don't have a whole lot of time. You just have to trust that I'm very entertaining when I do it. I love the serger. I mean, I just absolutely adore this machine. I think it's just, well, it's kind of, does anyone in here not own a microwave? Raise your hand if you do not own a microwave. So one person, okay? The serger is the microwave of your kitchen. We're all of an age where we remember before we got a microwave. I know I was in high school. My mom got a microwave, and I'm like, you can cook food on a paper plate? I mean, that was mind-blowing. Remember that? You could cook food in a Tupperware dish, and then it melted. But anyway. But so, you know, I can't think of my sewing room or my studio without several sergers. You know, because sometimes, you know, sometimes you like one kid better than the other. Sometimes you just like one machine better than the other. So I have some projects that are made for sergers. And this is one of my patterns. This is called, can you pull the Hopkins bag out? So this is a pattern that I developed. And I originally called it the 1 hour serger bag because I could make it in less than an hour, but I can't teach it in an hour. It's a 3-hour class. So Did,
Pull it up if I can find it.
yeah, I think I grabbed it. There we go.
There you go.
Fran will pass these around. So this is actually, so this is Fran Hirschfield. She is not only one of my dearest friends in the whole world, she will test all my patterns. She edits them and corrects the grammar, takes out all my commas because I have too many. But she also she helps me with all my bags. So so that bag is one that Fran made. This is mine. This one was a bag. I actually taught this a few weeks ago in San Diego. So we did this on the sewing machine and on the serge. It was a really fun event that I did out there. So on this bag, you'll see that there's a wave stitch. And what's cool about this pattern? Well, I'm passing it around. I'm going to pass it around. You'll see it. But what's cool about this bag, the stitching on here is a sewing machine stitch, but the way that I put the zipper in is completely different than any of my other bags. So I'll pass that around so you can see it too. Fran, I'll take that. And so I'm going to show you a little bit about the wave stitch because that's kind of a cool thing that Baby Luck does. And I think it quite happened by accident. Isn't that true, Pam?
That is true.
So,
I'll still answer the question.
yeah. Well, Pam was instrumental in developing this machine. So she's the serger guru. The fact that I'm up here means I'm kind of a fraud. Anyway. So anyway, I'm going to show you just some fun stuff on the serger. The wave stitch,
Tell me what you want.
I'm just looking for my fabric here. The wave stitch is just a really, really fabulous stitch. And I'm just going to do a little demo here to practice to see how I always stitch out first before I do anything. And I'm sure you guys do that too. You always do a little practice stitching, right? Right. Who's laughing? Hi, Dale. Hey, Dale, long time no see. So I'm just going to do a little practice stitching here. And my needle's unthreaded. But fortunately, I have a needle threader. I'm going to reposition I'm just doing a demo stitch right now. So I'm not even doing anything that we're seeing. But I will reposition the camera so you can see the threading. I'm sorry, what was that? Oh, she said surges are divided by two, those who try and those who cry. Well, you know, there's not a whole lot of crying with this serger. I don't know that I can get my chair to sit here in front. There we go. Now my needle's threaded. I'm just going to just do a little practice stitch and make sure that it's stitching before I start my project. So I really want to show you a cool way of putting in a zipper. And that looks good. So I'm going to cut my thread. So one of the cool things about the serger, my camera's not on it yet. Okay, can you see that now? Yes? I'm going to change the foot, and I'm going to put a piping foot on. Oh, shoot, I didn't bring my piping foot. Can someone grab me a P5 foot? I thought I had all my feet with me, but I guess I forgot that one. You know, it's probably on my serger at home. That's probably why I didn't grab it. Fran's going to grab me a piping foot. When she does that, I'm going to grab a zipper. Because I'm going to show you how easy it is to put a zipper on the serger. But I'm going to do two things. I'm going to show you how to put a zipper on, but we're going to put a zipper on with the wave stitch. I did not make up this technique. I saw it somewhere and thought, oh, that's a good to steal.
Can you talk about the thread that you're using?
The thread I'm using is a Wonderful called Damour. It's a 12-weight thread, but I usually use a 12-weight thread for this technique. So any 12-weight thread would work, okay? And I've got my stitch length at 1. I'm going to take my width, see what my width is here. I'll talk a little bit about the settings here. So my stitch width, I made all the way wide down here at 7.5. How many of you know why there's two numbers on the stitch width button? How many of you know what that is? Not rolled hem. It's your right needle or your left needle, right? Because if you have a wider needle in there, you're going to get a wider stitch, correct? That's why there's two numbers there, okay? This is my stitch.
Which one's which?
Well, the wider stitch would be the left needle, and the right needle would be the smaller number. Okay? Does that make sense?
But is it left needle or right needle? I mean,
The left needle is your wider stitch, so that would be the bigger number. When we go here, this is our differential feed. Right now I've got an M for normal or neutral. Do you want me to explain how the differential feed works a little bit? Okay, so here's the thing with the serger that's really fun, is sergers, for the most part, the better sergers have two sets of feed dogs, one in front of the other. Okay, and they can work at the same speed, which this one's going to do right now, or one can work faster than the other. All right, so when I'm sewing like a lightweight woven, have you ever sewn like a lightweight woven, like a batiste or something, and it kind of puckered? When that happens, you want your back feet to move, the back feed dogs to move faster than the front. Okay, so you want to slow the front down. So you're going to turn it down. So I would turn it down here, down to probably 0.8 or 0.6. Okay. Now, if you're sewing a knit, you don't want that knit to be all stretched out, right? Correct? You with me so far? You know when you sew a knit, it gets all wavy and stretchy. So if you're doing that, then you want the front to move faster than the back. So if I have it at 1.5, the back, the front is moving 1.5 times the speed of the back. And when I have it up to 2, it's going to move twice as fast. And that way you get a perfect stitch. So if you're doing a knit and you get a wavy stitch, play with your differential feed. Just adjust it a little bit. If you're sewing a woven and it's puckering, play with your differential feed. That's why you do a little sample ahead of time, right? Okay. Or you should, yes. All right, so I'm putting my presser foot down here. This is the piping foot. It has a groove underneath. Let me adjust my exposure here so you can see this. Can you see that groove? Yeah. See that? So if it's a piping foot, it's perfect for putting in zippers. How many of you have never put in a zipper with your serger? Oh, a lot of you. Wow. I'll tell you what. Zippers for my company is one of our cash cows. We sell more zippers than anything else because our zippers are better priced. I have been using, this is a 4.5 zipper. I've been using these zippers for almost 40 years. I've been in business for 43 years. I started when I was 23, and you know when you're 23, you know everything? Yeah, I did. I knew everything. But I've been using these for almost 40 years. I have never once, ever once had one of these zippers pull apart and fail on me. Not once. None of my customers have ever come back. Now, I had an interior design business for over 30 years. I put zippers in everything, in slip covers, pillows, upholstery, boat interiors, car upholstery, everything that needed a zipper got a zipper in it. If someone wanted a pillow without a zipper, they had to pay $15 extra. Because it was a lot more work to put in to hand sew a pillow shut than it was to put in a zipper. These zippers are made by YKK to our specifications. They have a reversible coil. That means you can put the slide on from either end. Okay? All right? I'm going to tell you something. If you buy 5 zippers or more while I'm here, and you come up to me and say, I bought 5 zippers, here's my email, I will send you a free pattern. Okay? Okay, and it's not a pattern that's here in the store. It's another pattern. Okay? So, it's not, and if you buy 5 patterns or more, and you come up and give me your email, I will give you a different pattern. I have patterns, I have 2 free patterns that I give out, and they're nice patterns. I'll tell you, they're not.
what about the package?
What package?
This package.
Oh, you mean the bundles?
Yeah.
I'll think about it. Cindy, you're working me here. Okay. So let's say I want this to be the right side of my bag. You with me so far?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to sew the zipper. Usually we sew right sides together, correct? We're going to sew wrong sides together. You're like, what? Is she smoking something? Not yet. So the zipper teeth go into the groove of the foot, okay? And look how beautiful this is feeding. It's right in the groove. Now, not to be outdone, Brunina has a beautiful piping foot too.
What kind of stitch are you using?
I'm using the wave stitch, and I'll show you the stitch in just a minute. There's my stitch.
Oh,
Isn't that lovely? But why is it on the wrong side of the bag, you ask? Aren't you asking that? I think you are.
Turn in when you put the pull on.
Shh. Somebody's been watching. You're figuring it out. Does anyone else sew standing up? Oh, there goes my camera. Oops. Now you can see the floor. It just vibrated off the table here. Let me push this back just a little bit more. There we go. There we go. Back in place. There we go. Not the worst for wear. These cameras can survive the airlines. They can survive being dropped on the floor, right? Now, again, you can use, this is a great way of using up leftover thread too. You could use regular embroidery weight thread. You just have to maybe shorten your stitch length just a little bit. And sometimes if there's a little gap there, I just take my finger and kind of smush it up, okay? We're going to trim the tails of the zippers evenly. Okay, I'm going to grab a slide. I know I've got some slides in here somewhere.
You sewed that on the wrong side?
I sewed it on the wrong side. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. That's the part that and when I teach this in a class, these ladies, their heads are just spinning. They're like, I don't know what she's thinking. So here's the wrong side of the fabric, okay? And we sewed with the wrong side of the zipper. We should usually when you sew, the teeth are down, so the teeth are up. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put this together, but we're going to put it together inside out because we don't want to have to turn the bag twice. So I'm going to do it inside out. I'm going to put the slide upside down, and I'm going to start putting it at an angle. And at an angle. Can you see me? Am I in the camera?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And then I push. Whoops, came out. Angle, angle, hold, and push. Now, if I only put the zipper slide on one time, I've just got to press this so the stitching is a little farther away here. If I only put it on one time, it's still open at this end. It's very hard to sew across an open end, right? I'm gonna readjust that because that's off quite a bit too. I'm gonna readjust that. Okay. This is the great thing about these zippers. Even if you sew and your stripes don't match, you can reposition your zippers to match the stripes. And you always want to push, you don't pull. Push, don't pull. That's better. Now I'm going to press this a little bit. I think my iron's kind of shut off here. I'm just going to press this. I'm going to press the lining away from the back of the zipper. Yeah, my iron cooled off on me. I think this is all the way hot here. Bless you. Okay. So now before I finish this bag, okay, I want to sew the sides. And I'm going to put a box corner in there, okay? So I developed a ruler when Betty and I wrote our Hold Everything book. We developed a ruler called the 7-corner ruler. If you make any bags at all, this is a must. I will tell you, the only 7-corner rulers in existence right now are here in this store. We ran out. Our manufacturers got them. They're being manufactured. They'll be done in about a week. So if we run out, we'll send you some. We'll send them to the store. But these are the only ones in existence. We ran out putting this shipment together for this store. So all the other stores that got their orders after, because Janice said, send me the order early so we can get it in our system. So we did. And if she hadn't done that, we wouldn't even have them for this because the last 3 shows ran out. So this is called the 7-corner ruler. So I'm going to do a little box corner. Okay. So I'm going to do. Well, let's do. We'll do it. We'll do it right here. I'm going to mark it at 1.5 inches. Actually, you know what? This is a fold, so we need to do the fold a little smaller than the side because that side, we're going to have a side seam there, right? So I'm going to mark it like this. And I would normally put a stabilizer in this bag, but this is basically those bags that we passed around. This is basically how they were made, okay? And the fact that these are uneven, I don't worry about that. Why not? Because my serger is going to cover it out. It's going to clean it up, right? So I'm just going to cut out my corners. And you'll notice I don't have the zipper at the top edge. I brought it down a little bit.
Why do you like the zipper down?
Because you'll see. For one thing, you don't want it right at the top because then your pretty trim is going to be curled. We want it nice and flat so we can see it, and we want it on the front side so it's very pretty. Right? But you can make it any way you want because there are no serger police. Oops. What did I get? You know what I forgot to do? And now I got to put it on regular serging. So I'm going to leave these threads in. I'm just going to rethread it. Now, when you thread for a wave stitch, it's a little bit different threading because you have to put it into a needle threading. So I'm just going to unthread it real quick. I'm going to thread it back up in the looper position. I'll show you. So to thread for a wave stitch, you have to put your looper thread into your needle, your right needle position. Does that make sense? Because that's where the little Japanese guys are that tighten the thread and make it move. We're going to change this back to overlock. Then we're going to change our stitch length, and I'm going to go back to 2.5. Okay? Change my stitch length to 2.5. My differential feed will stay the same. Okay? So now, oops. We just have a really pretty seam, right? Actually, yeah, that back up to A. See how my thread was curling a little bit? So whenever you have a problem with your stitch, 95% of the problem when serging happens between the machine and the chair. Okay? Look at your settings because maybe you didn't do something right. And my setting was still down below on B, so that's why it's doing that. So now if I do my next row of stitching, you're going to see it's much prettier. And if you think I did that on purpose just to make a demo, well, you can think that. See how easy it went right over that zipper? Didn't hesitate, didn't slow down, and now my stitch is much better, see? Okay, now, oh crap. I forgot to leave the slide on. I was supposed to put the slide on the second time. And no one even picked up on that. It's okay, it's okay. That's okay. It's easy to fix. I'm just going to rip out a little bit of stitching and put that slide back on.
I think we've all been there.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, any of you who watch my webinars, you know that I often make mistakes, and I always say I do that just to make you feel better. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it, right?
I have a question.
Sure, what's your question, sweetie?
Is it okay to go over the zipper in any serger or is just for baby?
It depends on the serger. Maybe a lower end serger might have a little problem sewing that thickness. So I would test it gently before you do it. Okay, I'm just pushing the zipper back on here. So I would just test it gently before you do that, okay?
Can I jump in real quick?
Yes.
A machine that has a blade that comes from the top
Yep.
will have a harder time going over a zipper than a blade that comes from the bottom.
Did everyone hear that? Thank you, Pam. And so if you see this blade is down below. Right here, it's right here. Some sergers, the blade comes down like this. And then this one comes up like this. Thank you, Pam. That's
You make it look so easy to get that pull on.
well, it's not my first time doing it.
The reason it's taking longer is because you're putting it upside down.
I'm putting it upside down, yeah.
It's easier to do it.
And I do have a tool to put it on that I'll show later this week. I just didn't set it up today. The Zipper Genie, that's right. The amazing Zipper Genie.
Pam, do you have videos online where you demonstrate these things?
I do, but I believe they're recording this so you can go back and watch this too. Right? Yeah, I do have videos. I also do a lot of online webinars. I haven't done many this year because I've been busy traveling. Plus, we've had some issues at our house where my husband has had some health issues. So I'm going to be traveling a lot less, which means I'm going to be doing a lot more online training. So, yeah. All right, so I've just opened up the zipper.
Isn't there a video for this bag?
There is all of my patterns have a video with them. All of my patterns come with a step-by-step tutorial video that walks you through the whole project start to finish. Is there who's used my patterns before and watched the videos besides Fran? Mary? Anyone else? What's your name, hon? Carl. Thank you. But yeah, would you agree the video really makes a difference? It's like being in my class. Yeah. So I step through the whole thing, and you can just watch the video and pause it and do the technique, and then go to the next step and watch it and then pause it. You can rewind it, and unlike Pam in real life, you can turn down the volume. Okay, so I'm going to turn this right side out. I'm not going to trim out my threads. You know how to do that. So here's my little bag I just made. And this is going to be the pretty part when you see the zipper trim. It is so, so sweet. It's just a great way to decorate your zipper. Isn't that pretty? So Fran's going to pass it around. Okay. Yes?
Are the other bags still roaming around?
Yes, your question in the back. You can do it without a machine that doesn't have a waist stitch. Well, what you would do is just do a wide, like a satin stitch. So just shorten your stitch length down to about 1, and you would just use 1 thread color instead of, well, I mean, you'd use probably the same thread color on both top and bottom. Okay? But that's a good question. And I've done that before, too. Because sometimes I'm teaching in a classroom where there's not a baby lock. Yes, question? No, this is on the pattern, the Hopkins bag pattern. So after my bag book came out, I had a whole bunch of patterns in my head that I wanted to make, so I started a new collection that I call the Alphabet Series, and I'm going to focus on that tomorrow, where I'm doing one for every letter of the alphabet, and right now we're up to, well, K's not done yet, but I'll show it to them. We're up to I. We're up to I, the Isabel. Yeah, Isabel's the last one that's in print ready. So next thing I want to show you is, so in my serger book, has anyone in here ever written a book? Why do people? So when you write a book, you've written a book. So when you write a book, you know that the page numbers have to be a number that's divisible by 8, because it's how they lay the book out to print it. So when you want to pass these around, actually pass this one around first, and then I'll pass this one around.
This one's prettier.
That one's prettier, yes. That one's hers. Half of these samples were made by Fran, just so you know. This is the one that's actually in the book. But what happened was, when I was writing my book, I was 3 pages short of a number that went into 8 evenly. So I looked at the different chapters to see where I needed to add a little more meat, and it was the clutches and covers, so I decided to make another purse. And this is the one, and the reason why this purse is this size is I looked through my scrap bin of techniques that I had already written about in the book, and I had some fringe left over, and I had some pleated trim left over, so that's why the bag is this size. Okay? So anyway, I'm going to take this stuffing out, because when this comes around, you're going to see that there is a zipper inside. And you're going to go, why is there a zipper in the bottom of that bag? Well, it makes it easier to make the bag. It makes it easier to make the bag. So when you go to, so first this trim right here, I did this with my belt loop maker on my machine, okay? You know the belt loop maker attachment when it's on cover stitch? And I did yards and yards and yards and yards of belt loop, okay? Then I wrapped it around a ruler. First I wrapped washaway stabilizer around the ruler. And then I wrapped all that loop around the ruler. Then I gently slid it off and held it with Wonder Clips, ran one side through the serger to hold it in place, washed it, and then that became my fringe. Okay? Isn't that fun? So the stabilizer we use in here, this one is the single-sided super shaping foam, and I'll pass a sample of that around right here. We have our own stabilizers. When we were writing the, no, I just, but I have it here.
Okay.
Let's see what I got here. There it is. When I was writing we can pass this around so you can see. I have 2. I have single-sided and double-sided. When Betty and I were writing the book, we actually talked to the Bianni people about using their stabilizer in our book. But we wanted to go with fusible because we didn't want you to have to always quilt it. And she did not want to go the fusible route, so we had to develop our own. So this is what we found we like the best. So it's called Super Shaping Foam, and there's single-sided fusible and double-sided fusible, and we have it in 2 sizes. So this is using the single-sided. So this is how the bag is written in the book with the pleated trim here. So when I teach this as a class, it takes too long to make that belt loop trim and wash it and have it dry. So when I teach this as an all-day class, this is how we make it, with a pleated trim here and a pleated trim here. So I'm going to show you how I do my pleated trims, because that's unique. When I had my interior design business, we did a lot of pleated trim. And I'm looking for my rolls of tape here. I know I've got it somewhere.
What are you looking for?
The pleat tape, but I've got some open run rolls from here. Here, I got them. So one of the things that I did when I started my business was I had a really cool landlord, and he gave me some advice that I always carried with me. He said 3 things. When you go to buy a piece of equipment, buy the most you can afford, because if you buy a leaser model, you're going to always regret it. Whether it's a car or a tool for your business or whatever, buy the most expensive one you can afford. The second one is it's better to go out of business because you charge too much than to go out of business because you charge too little. And the other one was, when you're in business and you have competitors, find their weaknesses and make that your strength. So in my interior design business, my only competitor, which I really didn't consider her competition, but she considered me competition. Anyway, she only knew how to do 4 designs, so everything looked the same, including using the same fabric. So everybody had the same look. So we prided ourselves in being creative and inventive and doing some out-of-the-box design stuff. So one of the things we did is we made a lot of embellishments. So everything we did included at least 2 embellishments. Okay, that was included in the price. Like I said, if someone didn't want it, then they still had to pay for it. And if they didn't want the zipper, then they paid extra, right? So I developed 2 tapes to make pleated trim, because when you make a pleated trim, think about it. You got to mark it, you got to pin it, you got to press it, then finally you get to sew it, right? And you got to measure it all out. It's very time consuming. Would it be easy if you could just bleed it and sew as you go, right? So you can do this on a machine or a serger. So I'm going to do it on the serger right now. So I'm going to show you how I did the pleat on that purse that goes around the sides, and that was a 1-inch knife pleat. And knife pleats are called that because they go in the same direction. So what I'm going to do here is I am pleating my fabric up and lining up my number 1s. Better? So I'm lining up all my number 1s, lining them up, lining them up. How many of you just had a little sewgasm? Yeah? I know, right? I sew with the P5. I sew with the P5 foot on all the time. That's probably why I didn't make it in my bag, because it was on my machine and I forgot to pack it. So I'm going to.
What do you call that measuring tape that you use?
I call it pleat tape. And Fran, could you take up those 2 packages? Fran's going to pass them around. I have 2 different tapes. One does box pleats and one does knife pleats. This is the one that does knife pleats. So I'm going to show you both of them. So I'm just pressing down the other side, because what I'm going to do is, and you can see this perfect trim on both sides. Ladies, we have a question. What's your question?
You just pressed it and the tape was still on.
Yeah, you can press the tape.
So, and
Yeah.
it's not going to make it harder to come off?
No. And the tape is reusable. Yep. The tape is reusable. So if you buy a roll, it's probably going to last you close to a lifetime, unless you make pleats every single day and you have a decorating business. So there's, huh? Yeah, we use it, yeah. So there's a knife pleated trim with it sewn on both sides. So now I'm going to take the tape off. I'm going to hop over to the sewing machine, because I'm not going to take the time to set this up for chain stitch. But if I were teaching this in a class, we would take a chain stitch down the middle, okay? So I'm going over to the sewing machine, and I'm just going to pleat down the middle. I do it usually from the right side, and I would use probably invisible thread. You do it from the right side. I fold this pleat back. That's how I did that center insert, okay? Now this fabric is cut on the bias. That is essential when you're doing this. It has to be cut on the bias, okay?
When you do that stuff, it needs to be cut on the bias.
When you want to fold it back. If you're just making a pleated trim, it can be cut anyway. But if you want to do this insert where it's folded back, it's got to be cut on the bias. So I'm going to go and iron this back a little bit, press it down.
You like that little old wrinkle?
I do invisible thread or matching thread, either one. It depends on the print and what I have. So there you go. Isn't that cool? So that's how I did the trim on the center of that purse.
You guys back there that aren't getting any of these samples, just when we break, when we're done, we'll put all the samples up on the table so that you get a look at them.
So now I'm going to show you how to do box pleats. Now I could do this same technique with the box pleats, but I fold one up and one down, and that is on my quilt. It's that orange block right in the front there. So this whole quilt on my front table is on the cover of my book, and we do 15 different block techniques in the book. And those block techniques just use some really great techniques in the book. Why? I don't. This is the new iron, and I think I had it going the wrong way. Yeah, I did. I had it going the wrong way. There we go. It's the first time I've used it, and it's different than my old one. Okay, so now I'm going to use the box pleated trim.
Is the difference if you give them once they lie on the table?
Oh, what's the question?
When they lie on the table like this, how will you know which one?
One says knife on it, and one says box. It's written right on the tape.
Okay.
But they are the numbers are in a different sequence. You can't. And only if you're going to do that little fold down thing in the middle. But if this one's cut on the bias, but it wouldn't have to be. I'm going to do a ruffle here. Okay, I'm going to move my camera back over. We're going to do a ruffle. And again, this could be sewn on a regular sewing machine too. So and you want to you want to put the tape where it's close to where you're sewing, but you don't want to sew on the tape because you want to reuse it. Okay, so there's my tape. So I'm going to line up all my number ones, but because this is a box pleat, when you make the pleats, they're half the size. Can you see that? Because the box, now it makes a 1-inch pleat on the top. And see how the pleats are touching underneath? Yeah. Let me change that exposure a little bit. Is that better? Oops. Don't sew it on the fold. This is box, and I put my tape up upside down. That's almost sewing on the fold. That wouldn't be good. Okay. This is the.
To show them that it's reusable.
Yeah, I just want to show it's reusable. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So my husband always says, "A stuck-to lie is as good as the truth." Yeah. So I mentioned my husband's having some medical issues. About 7 years ago, he lost the vision in his right eye, and at that point, he said to me, "If I lose the vision in my left eye, are you going to stay married to me?" And without thinking, I said, "Of course." What was I thinking? Who'd have thought, right? So in November, he lost his left eye. But he has a little bit of peripheral vision. It's strange because it's like his brain is starting to kind of work around it. He can see like a little bit up here. And I don't know if you noticed, like when he was like at the table reading his iPad, he had his glasses off. I don't even know why he wears glasses because he can't see anything in here. It's kind of cloudy, but anyway. So we had a pretty rough fall, and he told me that he didn't want me to travel anymore. He was too afraid to be home alone. So that's why when Janice called, I said, I got to check with my husband to make sure this is going to be okay. And fortunately, my friend Fran lives close by, and her husband and my husband are great friends. And I said, hey, you want to go spend a few days in Maryland with Bruce? He's like, sure. So there's box pleat gym. Isn't that cool? Absolutely perfect, right? Yes. But then we have some good news. My only child, who's 36, who I thought would never find a man that would put up with her. Oh, I mean, want to marry her, whatever. She's getting married in June. She found a wonderful man, and here's the cool part that I think is cool. His mom, who's a quilter, she sells on a FOF. I still like her anyway. No. The first time I met her, she said to me, we were at her house, we were there for Thanksgiving dinner, and she said, Pam, do you want that machine on right there? She goes, nobody wants it, and I've asked everybody in the family. I could tell by the case it was a featherweight. I know, right? Oh, there's more. So I said, Betsy, and I get goosebumps still thinking about it. I said, Betsy, are you sure you want me to have that machine? Because it is a collector's item, and it's quite valuable. She goes, I've asked everybody in the family. Nobody wants it. You can have it. I said, okay. So I take it home. I'm looking for a little piece of cardboard with a fishing line wrapped around it. Have you seen that, Fran? It's probably in here.
It would be in one of your bags.
Yeah, it's be in one of my, it might be in that one. It might be in that one. It's just a little piece of cardboard with fishing line wrapped around it. I'll let you look for one. Look. Not in there?
No.
That's got to be in here. It's not in here. Oh, dang.
One of these things.
No, it would be in one of these bags.
Be in one of the suitcases.
No, it would be, no.
Forgot to bring it.
Debbie packed it up for me, but I don't know where it got put.
There it is.
There it is. Oh, got it. I got it. Okay. So anyway, so she gives me the sewing machine, and I get home, and I open it up to start cleaning it and oiling it, and it had been, you could tell it had been in the case for a really long time. And so I get oiling it, and I flip it upside down to take the bottom plate off to oil it. Yes. I looked at the,
Very few of
yes, they're very rare. I opened it up, and flipped it over, and the bottom plate was only this big instead of like this big, and I thought, what the hell? And I turned it back upright, and I realized it's a free arm. Featherweight made a free arm. They're extremely rare. I'd only ever seen one in my lifetime. And so I call her back, Betsy, are you sure you want me to have this? This machine is much more valuable than I anticipated. Are you sure you want me to have your mother's machine? She said, nobody in the family wants it, so I'm so glad somebody has it that loves it and is going to take care of it. Isn't that sweet? That's my sign that she should be my daughter's mother-in-law, right?
Now, your daughter can't divorce him. She may want the machine.
So, but my daughter knew after the second date that this young man was the right one. And he sews. He knows how to sew. He quilts. He is a keeper. And he's cute. I'm going to turn this down to rolled edge. This is a cool technique that everybody always wants to see, and I rarely demo it. Yes?
Quick question, what was the pattern name for the tote bag going around that you did with
With the ruffles, it's in the Power Surge book. It's in the book. Yeah. In fact, this one's in the book, too. This is another one in the book. Can you pass that around, too? That's a little evening bag in the book. That's done with cover stitch. And this is in the book. This is what I'm going to do next. Every now and then I have this sample, and people say, how did you do this? And I haven't brought this stuff to show it. So I thought, I'm going to show this to these guys, because these ladies, because I haven't shown this in a long time, and it's kind of a cool technique. This is a beaded rolled edge. See that? And those are in the Serger book. Okay, so I have some fishing line with beads on it, okay, that my assistant prepared for me. Just so you know, I only do the stuff I do because I have really good help. A lot of educators, and I'm sure Pam will agree, a lot of our colleagues, they don't have a staff. I'm very lucky. I have a staff. I have 4 ladies that work for me full-time, and I'm just very blessed. I'm going to drop my cutter. I'm going to lock it down. And I've got the machine set up for roll. I'm going to switch this foot. I'm going to...
Let me have the foot.
Yeah, put it back in the box. Yeah. And I thought I had my clear foot here. No, I'll just use a different foot. I'll use the open toe. I don't care. Okay, so I'm gonna do a little bit of a rolled edge here, and I'm gonna bring up my differential feed just a little bit because I'm using bias fabric and it's a little stretchy. So I'm just gonna do a little bit of a rolled edge to see how my stitching is gonna look here. Oh, you know what? I've got the wide needle. It's gonna be a fatter rolled edge because of the needle position, so that's okay. So you notice I put my box pleated tape on here. And you're probably saying to yourself, she already showed us how to do that. Well, this is what I'm going to do. I use this tape as a measurement. So every time I see the number 1 get even with the feed dogs, I'm going to put a bead on. Okay? So I've got a bunch of little beads here, little crystal beads that are on a fishing line that I was able to steal from my husband's tackle box. And so now I'm taking this fishing, and I've got one bead just knotted on the end to hold it. And I'm just going to set this down so it's between the edge of the fabric and the looper, okay? So I'm just going to sew now until I get to the next number 1, okay? So now my number 1's even with that. So I'm going to pull up the next bead. I'm going to pull it up, and I'm going to make a loop, and I'm going to loop it behind the machine. Do you see how I did that? Okay, here's the bead, and I've just looped it behind the machine here. So now I'm just going to catch just the fishing line. I'm not catching the bead, and I'm going to sew till I get to the next number 1. Exactly. So now when my number's lined up with my foot, here's my loop with the fishing line. I pull the fishing line and cinch it in, and now it's behind the foot. Okay? How cool is that, right? This is in the Serger book, Power Serge. This is just one of the really cool techniques in that book. The pleated trims are in there. There's so many cool techniques and cool projects. And here's the other cool part about that book. First, if you've ever bought any of my patterns or my books, I rate all of my projects on a scale of 1 to 5. I call it the spools of difficulty. See right here with my finger? See where my finger is right here? Gonna pull that tight. Cinch it in. I have what I call the spools of difficulty. And so I rate everything on a scale of 1 to 5. So if it's a 5 spool, you know it's much harder than like a 2 spool or a 1 spool. Okay? So that's one cool thing to look for with my patterns and my different projects that I teach. The other thing is, oops, I think I went too far. I missed a number. I got talking and got distracted. Squirrel! Anyway, the other thing is, in the Power Serge book, you'll see QR codes throughout. How many of you knew about QR codes before COVID? Right? I mean, now we all know how to use them. So there's QR codes in my book, and that will walk you through the technique on that page or the project. And there's QR codes in all my patterns that have. It's just a little box that you scan with your smartphone. Now, if you don't have a smartphone, that's okay too, because on page 28 in the book, there is a page with all of the links that you can just type them in on your computer. Okay? I'm just going to do a few more here, and then we're going to move on to something else. Yes, question? Yeah. Oh, the loopers, they're kind of like the bobbins. You know, that would be a better question for Pam Massey. But underneath in the bottom of your serger, you have 2 loopers. This is one, and the other one's right there. And what they do is they intertwine with the needle threads underneath. Okay?
If somebody turn the light off on the left switch right behind you, turn the left side off.
Okay, see the beads? See how it's a little bit gathered? If I had to change my differential feed up a little higher, it wouldn't be puckered like that. Sorry? This is where I got talking and I kind of went by the mark. Okay? So I'll pass that around so you can look at that.
Yeah, you know, no one on the side of the room can see any of this because the sun is shining.
Oh, the sun's shining? What I what?
What do you hook it on so it wouldn't climb?
I don't hook it on anything. I just lay it in between the looper and the needle. Okay? Okay. So I'm going to do some things on the sewing machine, but I've got a few more serger samples to pass around, and guess my wallet's up here. One of the nice things about, even if you have a 4-thread serger, you can still do a lot of fun stuff. So this is a class I teach on the 4-thread serger, and this is a ladder stitch right here, okay? And that's just the back side of a flat lock. And then I have 2 napkins to show you. So there's a square napkin. And then sometimes I like to make round napkins, so there's a round napkin, okay? The nice thing about a round napkin is you have no corners. Yes?
The stitching on the back of this?
Mm-hmm. That is a stitch done by a special machine by Baby Lock called the Sashiko machine. Yeah. Do you have any Sashiko machines on the floor? Yes. Yeah, there's one on the floor, so they could show you. It's a machine stitch. But it's a machine stitch that looks the most like hand stitching of any other machine stitch. Some sewing machines will tell you, I get paid the same whether I talk or you talk. Okay, some machines say they do a hand stitch, but they actually use an invisible thread to pull up the bobbin thread. This machine, you got to look at it because it is super cool. This machine is what I call my KitchenAid of my sewing room, okay? Because I love my KitchenAid. I don't need a KitchenAid, but I love it and I use it all the time. And I love my Sashiko. It's my luxury appliance of my sewing room. If you have all the machines you want, then you need the Sashiko machine. This. Here, right? Wouldn't you call it the luxury appliance there, Janice? Isn't it? Yeah. It's so cool.
You'll look at it, you'll go, that's all it does. Yeah, that's all it does.
But that's all it needs to do.
That's all it needs to do.
It's like the featherweight. The featherweight only sews straight. It doesn't do anything else, but it does a great job. The Sashiko just does that hand quilting. Well, it does more than that. It does little hand quilting stitches and big hand quilting stitches. Yes.
One person makes that machine. It's the coolest thing.
It is the cool. If you've never seen it work, you got to go look at it demoed. It is so cool. I look at it and I try to go slow with it so I can see how it works. It only uses 1 thread. It doesn't have a bobbin. Yeah. It has a needle, but no, it has a needle. Or it has a bobbin, but not the needle. The needle has a hook in it. There's a needle, but it's not even a needle, a threading needle. It's got a hook. That's right. Okay, this is a table runner. This is also in my serger book. And so, you can do this. I think this is actually cover stitch, but you can do a flat lock that looks very similar to that. And you can gather with your serger. You can make piping with it. You can even make serger lace. So there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with the serger. You okay? I'm going to show you this project today, even though it doesn't. Oh, and this is another one. Speaking of flat lock, did you know you could do a flat lock wave stitch? You can do a flat lock wave stitch. And I won't go back to do it, but what you do is you set your machine up for wave stitch, okay? Everybody with me so far? And you thread your needle in your left needle position, but you put your needle thread into the upper looper tension. Let me repeat that. So the lower looper thread gets in the lower looper tension. The upper looper thread, which normally in a wave stitch gets put in the right needle position. Okay? Then normally your left needle thread would be in the left needle position. You move that over to the right, the upper looper position. And that's how you do the wave stitch flat lock. If you forget, it's all in the pattern. It's called the studio bag. Do we have it there, studio bag? This is the studio bag. This is Fran's, and this is mine. So we'll pass them around.
Is it also in the power serger book?
Nope, because I didn't know about it when we wrote the book. So this is the pattern. This is all done on the serger. Okay? It's great. Do I? Yeah. I have top of line everything. I'm a snob. You know what? This is true. I drive an almost 12-year-old minivan so I can drive my top of the line sewing machines. I don't care how I look driving in my old car. It's how I look on my sewing machine that counts. See, doesn't that look good on me? Seriously. I actually, I did do something crazy last summer. I bought a car just for the sheer silliness of it because I could. I bought my neighbor who had passed away, I bought her 2008 Volkswagen Beetle Bug convertible. It is so cute. It's a 5-speed. I love driving it. Okay, so this is a really fun class that I teach, and I call it the 10-foot pillow. Yeah, I know it's not 10 feet. I use 10 different accessory feet in making this pillow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I'm going to show you some of the little techniques that we do on this. So you saw me do the pleated trim, so I won't show that, but I'll show you some of the other stuff, okay? Because it's pretty cool, okay?
Which one is that from?
This is just a class that I teach. Yeah. So it's not in a book. If you thought you'd like to make that, maybe Janice would let me do a virtual class with you guys. Does she do that here in the store? Janice, do you ever do virtual classes in the store? Would you be willing to do that if I wanted to teach a class and they could see it on the monitor? Okay, see?
Would you guys want to do that? Yeah. I'm not a big, I'm like old school, I like to see my person, but if I can get enough people to sign up, I sure can.
This would be,
Yeah, hands-on.
it would be hands-on. So that's the thing, because with the hands-on class, it's probably not cost-effective for her to fly me down here, because I don't come cheaply. Anyway, but this is a really fun class, and I do some fun stuff with it. So let me just talk a little bit about. Actually, give me the pillow back. I'm just going to talk a little bit more before I pass it around. So let me show you on camera. So the center, I use the box pleated tape, and then we fold back. Let me scoot back a little bit here and focus. So I fold back the folds here. See that? And then I use the pearls and piping to put a row of beads down the middle. And then I make piping with this is micro welt, it's a small piping, okay? And then I do the pleated trim here. This is the knife pleated trim. Then I use the pin tuck foot here and do pin tucks. And this, see the little teeny double welting? Anyone want to guess what foot I use that for to make that? I'm going to give I'm going to email a free pattern to the person who can guess what foot I used to make this little mini. The first person that can guess, it's mini double piping.
The silver one.
Can,
Regular foot.
it's a specific foot. It does something different. Invisible zipper foot. It's the invisible zipper foot I used to make that. Yeah. Go grab me an invisible zipper foot. I don't think I brought mine. No, I didn't bring mine. No, I don't have it.
Okay.
For this, yeah. So, and then this is sheared welting. And then we do a little zipper insertion down here. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot. If you want to do a technique class that ends up becoming a project, this is the class. Okay? All right, so, now we'll pass the pillow. So I'm going to do some of those techniques just to show you how much fun you can have on your machine. So one of the things I like about Baby Lock is they have 2 sizes of double welting feet. And also Bernina does too. So if you have a Bernina, you have 2 sizes too. So this one is for the fatter piping and this one's for the smaller piping. But they also have a skinny little piping foot. Okay? So we're going to do some fun stuff here. I'm using today the Chorus, which is the one that replaced the Unity, which is a machine that I used to own.
Actually, it replaced the Crescendo.
Oh, the Crescendo, sorry.
Yeah, this is a sewing-only machine. It is the top-of-the-line sewing machine.
At home, I sew on the Solaris, in case you're wondering. That's right. Oh, my piping. So I'm going to, this is my micro welt cord. Now this cord is it's polyester. So it doesn't shrink when you wash it. It's not twisted like a cable cord, so it doesn't torque on you. And I'm just going to fold this over, and it holds my cord perfectly in place. when I start this, because the cord is a little bit slippery, I'm just going to do that. I use this cord in all my quilts. I do pipe binding on all my quilts. So if you're here on Saturday, you'll see one of my quilts that I did use this on. I have new stuff I'm going to pull out every day, so you need to come every day. All right, right, ladies? Oops, why is this?
And just so you guys know, we have a lot of all the colors, so if you're not seeing a color out here, it's sold out off the rack, but we have boxes of them, so just let me know, we're gonna try to keep them filled up.
Yeah, it's hard. I sent her a lot of, like I said last time, she was wiped out of everything, so I thought, well, let's try to make it easy for people to spend their money.
It's hard to put everything in.
Right, you just don't have the space. You know my goal, ladies, is to sell you stuff, right? Okay, just want to make sure we know that. And teach you. Okay, so I'm making piping, and you'll notice I just grabbed a bunch of bias that I had cut. So this doesn't have to be cut on the bias, but I usually do use bias. So you'll see that's quite wide, right? And you're saying to yourself, I don't want to have that big of a seam allowance. Weren't you saying that? Yeah, you were. Yeah, I do. Micro welt. It's in a pink package. Yep, not yet. So if you'd like some micro welt, if you want to, does she have bags started for everybody? Yes. Okay. If you want micro welt, maybe you need to let them know, because I don't know if we have enough for everybody. Micro welt, this is the cord. Like I said, I use this in my quilts. I also use this in my garments. I don't make a lot of clothing, although right now I am making a wedding dress. Anyway, I don't, but my husband and I do reenactment dancing. So in my ball gowns, they all like we do French Renaissance and English country dancing, and the dresses are all low cut, and I don't like the girls to come out and play. So a lot of these dresses are very low cut, so I use this piping in the neckline, and it really cinches it up. So, I also sometimes use it like in tops that are sleeveless to kind of cinch in the armholes. So, yeah. Anyway, so this is another ruler that we've developed called the 5-in-1 ruler. Okay, it's got trimming grooves on both sides. I don't want to accidentally cut this cord, so I'm trying to get it out of the way here. Oops. Oh. So there's two grooves. There's one for the micro welt and there's one for standard welt, and this trims everything to an exact 1/2-inch seam allowance. So that's all my patterns, whether they're home deck or they're bags, are all written to a 1/2-inch seam allowance. Okay, so that's trimmed to a 1/2-inch seam allowance exactly. Okay. And I'll pass this around so you can look at it. I don't know if I passed it around. Here's the other ruler. This is the 7-corner ruler. Okay. They come with instructions, yeah. So I use that 5-in-1 ruler to do my mitering techniques. I use it to mark quilting lines. I use it when I do my drapery work, I use it for measuring my draperies. I use it a lot. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I put on my piping and how I turn a corner. And Fran, do you have take out the pink kit. The pink kit. So this kit we have for sale here, and we gave Janice a good price on this. She's got this literally selling at half price. Okay, you take it out of the bag, please. We still normally sell this for $89. She's got it here with your discount for $45. But it has 3 pairs of scissors, a seam ripper, and a stiletto. So I'm just going to show you how we put piping on. So I'm going to start my piping. I'm going to leave a little bit of free end here, okay? Here, just pass it around. Oh, let me show it first, and then we'll pass it around. Here, take the card. So this is a toolkit that we developed. And the nice thing about the seam rippers and the stilettos is that the tips are replaceable. So when they become dull or damaged, we have the replacement tips. And I don't know, the scissors are falling out of here. So there's 3 pairs of scissors. These are the scissors I like the most when I'm when I'm working. So I'm going to show one of them. Get the pedal here. Here we go. Now, when I get near the corner, I stop and I pivot. And I use the pocket scissors with the blunt tip. See, there's a notch right there? When I hold it like that and I go to clip my seam, it gives me exactly a 1/2 inch seam allowance clip. And if you clip through your stitching line, that just means you didn't sew close enough to the cord. It's okay to cut stitching. It won't hurt it. You're going to stop when you're a 1/2 inch from the edge of the fabric, which is exactly where the bobbin cover meets the throat plate. Okay? So you're going to turn it. You're going to use your stiletto. You're going to stab the cord, and you want to put it back underneath that groove that's under that foot right there. So you're going to watch what happens right. Let me turn this. Watch what happens right here. So I'm going to take my stiletto, and I'm going to bring it over, and I'm going to push it back, and you're going to see it gently rock back just a little bit. See? So what I'm doing is I'm putting more fabric in that corner. And by doing that, you get a corner without a bubble. Let me show you. See when I turn it? Look how flat that is, no bubble.
Well done.
Isn't that fun?
Well done.
So this is how I join it. So I would have gone all the way around. And so I'm going to pretend we've gone all the way around here. I'm going to start with this end here. And I'm going to take the end that I started with, I'm going to trim it at a 45-degree angle. And I'm going to take the other end that I'm finishing with, and I'm going to cut it at what I do a 3-finger cut. Now, if you've got fat fingers, it might be 2. So I lay my 3 fingers on here, like there, and then I cut it. So I make sure I have enough overlap. About 2.5 inches is good. Okay? And then you're going to take your seam ripper, and you're going to rip this out. Ball side down, right, ladies? You always put the ball side down. That's what it's for. Then you fold this over at a 45-degree angle, flip this up, and now we're going to cut that cord to match the other side. Butt them together, fold over the top, hold it down with a stiletto. Oops, wrong one. And sew. And that's a perfect splice, okay? And I do the same thing with my fat cord, okay? So I do the same thing with my fat cord. Now you'll see in some of my purses I do the fat cord around the edge, and that gives the edge a nice, like some body. The fatter cord that we use is called the micro. This is the standard cord right here that we use. And again, it's polyester. So with that one, I would use this foot to make it for just, yes?
What is this called?
It's called the Quintessential Toolkit. Quintessential Toolkit, and it sells for $45. And anything we run out of, we've got more at home. The only thing we don't have more of at home right now is the ruler, but it's on its way. So I've moved my needle over here, and I'm just going to fold this over. This foot has a groove down the middle, okay? This foot has a groove down the middle, so this is how I would make just standard piping. And then I would just trim it with that ruler that's being passed around. See how nice that looks? Now, you can make double welting too with this. Do I have any more bias? Oh, here, right here. I'm going to show you how to make double welting only because I want to show you the double welting foot, because there's something I like with the double welting foot that you're going to love too. So the double welting, this is the regular double welting foot. This is the smaller one. Put my needle back in the center. I remember when I got like one of my first grown-up sewing machines, and it had 3 needle positions. And man, I thought I was cooking, you know? It's like, what did I do with the cord? The standard cord. I just had it. Here it is. And now it's like I have, it's unlimited needle positions, right? So this is how you make double welting. And this is done as a surface embellishment. This is how I made that little skinny double welting, but I did it with the invisible zipper foot, which Fran went and got for me. So I'll just show you with this one. I'm just going to sew like this on this side. I'm just going to make a little piece to show you, okay? But this is a great embellishment. Sometimes I put this on my quilt if I have to hide like an oops. I'm sure none of you ladies ever make mistakes, right? Then we bring the other side over and we wrap it. We sew it in the same direction. And it holds both sides perfectly. And so I would put invisible thread in my bobbin. Because I'm actually making it upside down. And then I trim off the excess. And that's my right side, and then that would just get sewn onto another piece of fabric. And then you could curve it, you could shape it, you could, like that, okay? The other thing I love about this foot is how many of you took home ec in junior high? Most of us, right? Do you remember, let me see, I thought I had a piece already cut. Do you remember making a little A-line skirt where you sewed down one side? No, I'm actually looking for a piece that was, if you ever made that little A-line skirt where you sewed down one side of the zipper and across the bottom and back up, what always happened at the top? It was, right? And why did it do that? Because when you sew on one side and then the other, it torques, right? Okay. Well, here's the thing. The nice thing about, I'm going to cut this in half here, just a second. The nice thing about this double welting foot is it makes the perfect zipper foot. And I'm going to show you why. Actually, yeah, use it. Yeah. That's Mary says that's all she uses to put her zippers in. Of course, she's been hanging out with me a little bit too. Mary's made a few pilgrimages up to my house.
Where is that?
I live about 45 minutes south of Montreal. I'm in the very northeast corner of New York State, right on Lake Champlain. Yep, it's God's country, right? It's absolutely lovely up there. I'm going to find me a zipper slide in that bag.
You want it to match?
If you can find it. Or you could get a green.
Have the orange?
I've got, the peach. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to put a zipper in and sew both sides in the same direction. So there's 2 grooves here, right?
Right.
You know how when you have a zipper foot, you put the foot to the side, and a lot of times it skates away from you, right? Okay, when you use this foot, you're right on top of the zipper foot, or on top of the zipper tape, so it can't go anywhere, right? So I've got this side. So this time I'm sewing right sides together. Remember with the serger, I did wrong sides together, right? So now I'm going to use the other side of the zipper. I'm going to sew it in the same direction, and I'm going to use the other side of the foot this time with the needle in the center. This way, if the zipper travels a little bit, it's going to travel the same direction on both sides. Isn't that cool? Isn't that easy peasy, right? You want to see how I put the zipper in again? I'm just going to press this and fold it back.
Pam, you have a question?
What's the question? Yes.
If you're doing a lap zipper, like on a dress.
Why don't I do a lap zipper right now?
Okay.
That's a good question. Thank you. What's your name? Thank you, Jacqueline. I will do that right now, actually. Did everyone hear Jacqueline's question? What if you're doing a lap zipper like in a skirt? Yeah, how about that, Pam?
Well, and the zippers we used when we were in high school were all in one piece.
Yes. And they still are all in one piece. So this is not a clothing zipper. This is a zipper for like home deck, for bags, for upholstery, that sort of thing. If you're going to do a clothing zipper, you want to do one a little bit longer so you can do this. Okay, so if this was a lapped zipper, okay, in home deck, I would just sew the lap like this, okay? If you're doing it in clothing, you have to, it's a little bit different. You have to do the seam and then go back and sew the lap. But you have to, okay? So I'm just folded this over, it's underneath there for a lap zipper. And I might even want to move my needle over a little bit, you know, so it's a little wider. It's personal preference of where you put the needle. So, but like in pillows, I do a lap zipper like this a lot if I don't want to show the zipper. So there it is closer, there's a little farther over. And then I'm going to put the slide on. Always starting with the rounded side of the slide. You're going to angle it. It's got to go in at an angle. That's critical. Okay? Angle it, hold, and push. And I do have a YouTube video showing you how to do that. Okay? So again, if I just leave this like this end's open, it's hard to sew across. I'm going to go off the end, just like I did before. And then I'm going to put it back on. And then I'm going to turn it inside out and sew up the sides. Angle, angle, hold, and push. Turn it inside out. And usually if there's a lap zipper, I make this the bottom of the project, okay? So I would hold the zipper like that. Okay, let's put the other foot back on, put the needle back in the middle. I usually sew with the open toe foot. That's kind of my go-to foot to sew with all the time. I really love it. And in my Hold Everything book, there are several zipper techniques. Several different pocket techniques. And we'll do more of those tomorrow because I'm going to focus more on the bag making tomorrow and show you stuff from bag making. So now this is a non-locking slide, which means I can just do this, okay? And turn it right side out. And there you go. Easy peasy, right? But wait, there's more. You buy your zipper in the next 5 minutes. I'm going to throw in another technique at no additional charge. I just had another piece of fabric. What did I do with it? Are you having fun, ladies and gentlemen? And I see we've got a couple gentlemen here. I just think sewing is fun anyway, right? You know, it's like when I'm sad, I sew. When I'm mad, I sew. When I'm tired, I just go to bed. But, but you know, sewing pretty much solves every issue. You know, my husband one day said to me, "What gives you the most joy?" And I know he thought I was going to say sewing. And I go, "You, honey." And I said, "And our daughter." But I don't know about you folks, but my sewing studio is my happy spot. And it's just the cellar in my house. It's nothing fancy, but I'm just so happy when I'm down there. You know, who wouldn't be happy surrounded by beautiful sewing machines and fabric and thread and zippers and no husbands. And good irons. I have really good irons. I sell only and use only the best irons. Well, in my studio, I only use Laura Stars. Laura Stars.
Yeah, those are fantastic.
It's, when I travel, I use the Alicio or the Panasonic. I like those too, but at home, I use the Laura Stars, and I have 4. I have 2 that are in the ironing boards with the vacuum, and I have 2 portables. They start at like $700 and go up to about $3,000. Remember, buy the most expensive one you can afford, right? Yes. So I just put zippers on one side of this, okay? And because this has a reversible coil, I can actually use half a zipper to make a bag, okay? By doing this. And then that's done, okay? So you can do that with half a zipper. Isn't that cool? Yeah. There's some fun things you can do. This is a fun world. I mean, I think we're so blessed to live in an age where we have great sewing machines and great products to just sew and do fun stuff with. Now if I could just find a sewing machine that would cook my husband dinner, I'd be all set, right? And great teachers, thank you. Well, I just feel very honored to be here with Miss Pam because she's my idol. I just want to be her someday. You know, thin, blonde, tall. I would say I could be tall and thin if I wanted to. I just don't want to. That's one thing when people meet me for the first time, if they've watched me on video and seen me do other things like online, and they meet me, they go, I thought you'd be taller. I do have heels on today. I have like a little 1.5 inch heel here, so yeah, normally I'm way shorter, but there's a little cute little zipper pouch, see? Just using half a zipper. Yep, yeah. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do that little mini piping. That's so much fun, so much fun. I'll just grab this piece right here. I'm going to just cut this down because I don't need nearly that much. So I'm using the invisible zipper foot. And of course we know the invisible zipper foot is kind of to put in invisible zippers, which it does a really fine job doing that. But we can also use that to make our little mini double piping, okay? And we have two different cords. We have one size that's slightly smaller too that we also can use for this if you want a little bit skinnier double up. But it's just like the other one. We just put this in, fold it over just a little bit to catch. I don't know if it's in the groove here. It slid out. Sometimes, I don't know if you noticed earlier, I tied a knot in it. It tends to slip out on me, so I tie a knot in it so it can't slip out. There we go. And there's, again, a little groove there that's going to hold it. And you want to just fold it over just enough to catch the edge. If you hold your tongue just right, it helps too. I think I went over just a little bit here. I'm using the invisible zipper foot. Yes. Which you probably already have, right? The other nice thing about the double welting feet, since Baby Light does have two sizes, if you're sewing with the full zipper and not half a zipper, the bigger one works better, but it also works better with your fatter cords, okay? So that's a fun one to use. Thank you. So now I've got two cords side by side. And you want to keep this fabric kind of snug. And like I said before, do invisible thread in the bobbin. And then you would just trim off the excess, just like we did before. And there's our double cording. Okay? And then when you trim it off, you take the bottom side and you would sew it onto a project. Invisible zipper foot. Invisible zipper foot. Not just a regular zipper foot, invisible zipper foot.
What was that other foot called?
The double piping? There's two double piping ones, two double cording ones. This is a 4 to 6 millimeter, and this is a 5 to 7 millimeter, I think is the size.
They're called welting foots.
Yeah, I think sometimes they're called the welting foot. Sometimes they're just called, like Brother just calls them a piping foot. Bernina, it's the size 59 and 60. Could someone please answer their phone and tell them I'm not here, I'm busy? Yeah. Okay. What's your name? Natalia asked me a question. So up here on my sample up here. So whenever I make a quilt, I remember I said earlier I do the pipe binding and I use that micro welt. Well, on this one I did not use the micro welt because it was a serger class or serger project. I made the, and earlier when I showed you how to do the wave stitch, I did I folded a piece of fabric over and I did the wave stitch over the fold. And then I made like a piping, and then I used my piping ruler and I trimmed it to a 1/2 inch. And then that part right here, this seam right here where I sewed this, is the only place on this whole machine that is sewn on the sewing machine. Everything else sewn on the serger. I even quilted it on the serger with metallic thread with a chain stitch. Wow. All on my Triumph, just saying.
So this you did on a fold?
I did that on a fold, yes. Yeah. I made it like regular piping. Yeah, I dropped the cutter. Dropped the cutter, did the wave stitch. You want me to make a little sample? Okay, I'll make a little sample. I can do that. You've been so good. And since I started late, I feel like I can go a little bit later. I'll go to like 1/4 or so. Is that okay if I go to 1/4, Catherine? Yeah. I won't go too much over because I know we're all hungry. So we're going to take this. I'm going to take my stitch length and bring it back to 1. Okay. Oops. My stitch length is at 1. I'm going to make my, I'm going to move my stitch finger out. Okay. I've got to rethread my upper looper, but I don't unthread it completely. I just pull this out like this. I loop it behind and then pull it down, and that way I can put it in the right needle position. Okay? I just pulled my upper looper out of its tension disc and put it in my right needle position because that's where the wave stitch action happens. Okay? You're welcome. What do you mean the sewing foot? The presser foot? The presser foot's down right now. It's down right now. Okay? So, I'm just going to take a piece of fabric folded, like you would make piping. Like you would make piping. Let me focus that a little bit. Okay? Get my needle up. I love the fact that the lifter on this machine is right here. You know what? I'm going to drop my stitch finger. I'm going to go down to rolled edge because I think I did a rolled edge to make it more curvy. I don't remember. Well, this is kind of like how I did it. I think this is pretty much, yeah. I might have put, I don't remember if I put piping in it or not. You'll have to look in the book because I don't remember. I actually have had, some sleep since I wrote the book.
Excuse me. Doesn't look like there is a pipe.
So there we are, and that's just like a piping, okay? And then I would sew it in. So let's go back to the other machine. And go back to the other machine. And I'm just going to put one of the piping feet on, the double cording feet, okay? The reason why this part was sewn on a regular machine when I sewed it onto the quilt is because there was no way. The only way I could have done it with the serger is to use the chain stitch. And I would have trimmed this with the ruler to make sure it's trimmed to a true 1/2 inch. And then I'm just going to sew it on like this. And then when I get to the corner, I would snip it at the 1/2 inch. Okay, just like I would regular piping. And then turn it. Okay, turn it and get it back in under the groove there. Oh, right here, sorry. So then when it was in the quilt, see, it would do that. Like if I did it like a Rhonda project, like on a pillow, see? Isn't that pretty? Let me press it just a little bit here. It's a little funky in the corner, but okay. Okay, I'm going to put the ruffling foot on. One of the things I love about the Baby Lock ruffler as opposed to some of the other brands is this is a snap-on foot. I don't need to take my ankle off, okay? I think this is like the coolest foot in the world. I love this foot. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how the ruffler functions, okay? So see this screw, this little screw guy right here? The farthest when that's pushed in all the way, it means it's going to make bigger bites in my fabric, and it's going to ruffle tighter. If I screw it to the left and loosen it, it's going to do a little looser, okay? So you can adjust the fullness of your ruffle that way. There's also numbers right here. There's 1, 6, 12, and then there's a little star. Whoops, right here. So you see, let me get that where you can see those. See the little numbers right there? Okay, so this is the frequency of stitches per pleat. So when it's on 1, it's going to make a little pleat for every stitch. When it's on 6, it's going to make 5 stitches, and on the 6th stitch, it's going to make a pleat. And when it's on 12, and so on. The last one, with the little star, you've disengaged it. It's not going to pleat at all. Okay. So let's do a little bit of a ruffle here. Right now, it's on 1, so it's going to gather quite a bit. Oh, it's not ruffling. Why isn't it ruffling? I don't have it in the right spot. You need to put it in between the feeder teeth and the feed dogs. See? There's 3 places you can put fabric. Only one of them is going to ruffle. This is how I do my ruching when I do a ruche project. So you can see that is very tightly gathered, right? But wait, there's more. I can loosen my ruffle. Now, let's say you want to adjust how much your fabric is going to gather, right? What I do is I will take a piece of fabric and I'll put 2 pins, or mark 2 marks on my fabric 10 inches apart. Okay, you with me so far? And then I do the gathering, and then I do the math. So if 10 inches goes down to like 3 inches, I know it's like a little more than 3 times full. If it goes down to 4 inches, I know it's 2.5 times full. If it goes down to 5 inches, I know it's only 2 times full. Y'all get that? Just do the math. Do the math. So if I want to make ruching, so I'm going to loosen it a little more because I don't want it quite as full. So I'm going to loosen it a little bit more. We're going to do one side. Then we're going to do the other side. And that's how we do ruching. So ruffles are, now when I do a regular ruffle that's folded over, I serge those 2 raw edges together. And the serging kind of acts like snow tires for your ruffler. Okay? Helps it to grip. If you don't have a serger, well, you could zigzag or you could talk to Janice. We can fix that. So if you use your ruffler on both sides, then you get ruching. Now if you take that ruching and you fold it over some fat cord, and I don't have any fat cord here, but I'm going to double this up to show you. If you sew it over some fat cord, that's how I did that sheared welting on the side of those pillows, on each edge. So you just take that ruching, you fold it over fat cord, you stitch it down, and to stitch it down, I use the narrow zipper foot, that foot right there, okay? One of my favorite feet, love that foot. And you would just stitch this down, and then you've got your sheared welting, okay? And that's how I did the trim on that pillow. Yes?
I think you can actually attach, create a ruffle.
Shh. Don't give it away. I'm not done yet. Natalia, you're just thinking too far ahead. Shh. Don't give it away. Okay. This is what Natalia is trying to tell us up front here, and I didn't want her to give it away, but I'll show you here. You can actually gather a piece of fabric and sew it onto a flat piece of fabric all in one step. And that's by taking this, putting it underneath where it doesn't gather, right? Putting your ruffle in the middle between the feeder teeth, okay? Right sides together. And there you are. But wait, there's more. The ruffle, this is the coolest foot. It's just the coolest foot. You can take your fabric and you can put one piece on the bottom. Now, if you have a ruffler, if you don't have a ruffler and you're thinking about getting one, get one that's made by the same company that makes your sewing machine. Okay, that's really important because then it will have the right contact with the feed dogs. You need to have one that's designed for that model and that brand of machine. I know the first time I got a ruffler, I used to teach at a little store not far from here called G Street Fabrics. Anyone remember G Street? I used to live in Frederick County. I don't know if you probably didn't know that. I used to live in Frederick County. Huh? Well, no, it's closed now. Oh, it's still there? They Good to know. No, I taught at the store in Rockville Pike when I was living in Frederick County, and because I worked there, I got employee discounts, and once a year they'd have a really big sale on Bernina, so that's where I bought my first Bernina, and I was going to buy the ruffling foot, and the salesman said, "Oh, don't buy the Bernina foot, buy this generic foot and this adapter ankle. It works just as good." Well, it did not. It did not. It didn't work. And I thought, well, what's the big hype about this ruffler? This thing doesn't work worth crap. It wasn't any good. It wasn't until I started getting more educated about different sewing machines that I realized that's why it didn't work, because it wasn't made for my machine. Okay? So now I'm taking two pieces of fabric. One's underneath, one's in the middle, and one's going to be on top. Okay? So now I'm going to hold my tongue just right. Whoops, I got to get this under the needle here. It's not in the needle. Get over there. Get my stiletto to push it over. There we go. I don't know about you, but I think it's really hot in here now. I can feel the sweat trickling down my back. So now, of course, this is a little piece of fabric. It's hard to hold. So what I've done is I made a ruffle and gathered it between two pieces of fabric all in one step. There we go. So there's that and that. Okay? So you can actually sandwich a piece. Well, I missed the ruffle right there, but you guys got the idea, right? Okay. What do you think? Isn't that a cool foot? All right. But let's say you don't want it quite as gathered, okay? You can adjust this, and I can put this on number 6. Now I'm going to move this, I'm going to screw this down a little more, and this will give me a pleated piece of pleated fabric. It's not as accurate as my pleat tape. My pleat tape is, if you do it exactly, it's 3 times full. Okay, so if you want to make a pleated trim that's 36 inches, you're going to need 108 inches of fabric to pleat up. Okay, because 36 times 3 is 108. With this, it's not as accurate, it's not as full, but it's a really fun way of making pleated trim. So I've got it on 6. So now it's going to make a little bit deeper bite, but it's only going to make a bite every 6 stitches. See how it sews and then it pleats? Now, if I adjust my stitch length, let's do this. I'm going to go up to a 4.0. And now I'm going to go down to a 1.5 or 1.2. So here's my regular stitch length at 2.5. Then you see I got a little looser at 4.0, and then at 1.2 it got real tight together. Okay? So isn't that cool? You can do a lot with a ruffler. It's kind of a fun foot. I do a lot of sewing with this foot and this foot. Okay? One of the reasons why is I make a lot of bags, and I use a lot of imitation leather, the vinyl, what we used to call pleather, but now they call it vegan leather. There's nothing vegan about it. But anyway, this just a little Teflon foot. It's got a little Teflon bottom, and this is a Teflon coated narrow zipper foot. You can see I've worn it a lot because there's a little line worn away. But these, if you're going to sew on those fabrics, these 2 feet I think are essential. Okay, and I love this one for making my fat piping. I use this foot a lot, as you can tell, because these are my feet from home. The only foot I forgot to bring was the other, was the one that, what was that? Oh, the invisible zipper foot. Now this one is the edge joining foot, and I use that one a lot too, because if I want to stitch along the edge of something, this gives me a perfect stitch. They're great for stitching the ditch, that's right. It's good for stitching the ditch. So if you're doing like a hem, so if you want to do like a hem along something and you're stitching along, let me move my teacup, I don't know why it's right there. Right now my needle's right in the center, right? So if I sew like this, my needle's going to fall off the hem. So what I do is I just use my right-left shift and move my needle over just a little bit, just enough to catch. Oh, I'm still at that short stitch length. Let me go back up to 2.5 or 3. And it gives you a perfect top stitch hem, okay?
You know, people, we're all trying to hear. If you'd stop talking, it would help.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. I'm going to show you a couple more techniques, and then we're going to stop. I'm going to show you how I do my miters. Did my ruler make it all the way to the back?
Yeah, I haven't seen either. The rulers.
So if we can get my 5-in-1 ruler back up here. The 5-in-1 ruler I need, it's coming. Thank you. I noticed Janice has some of my DVDs here, and she still has the Perfect Pillow DVD. So if you want to learn more about how I do pillows and how I trim the dog ears on the corners and how I make my piping and my ruffles, like a lot of that stuff I've been showing you is in that DVD.
Are the rulers in that pile?
You may pass it to her.
Find my balance.
I need the other ruler too, sweetie. Right there. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So this ruler is also my mitering tool. I'm just going to rip out that hem real quick.
Put that invisible.
It should be right there someplace. Oh, it's on the floor. It fell on the floor. Okay, so when I do my hems, if it's just a regular mitered hem, I make sure that they're the same size on each side. So I'm doing them at about 1.25 inches. And that's another really fun class that I do virtually quite a bit. It's a mitering class. If that's something you feel like you need help with, that's something we could do too. Because as I said, I'm not going to be traveling much anymore because I'm going to stay home because I have to be the taxi driver. He's like the little bird. Drive me here, drive me there, I can't see.
All right, Pam, you got 5 minutes.
Okay, I'll be done.
The mayonnaise is gonna go bad.
Okay. We don't want anyone to have food poisoning, right?
So just to reiterate, when you go out to lunch, you can eat in here. Please don't eat on the showroom, okay? I already had to replace the carpet because one sofa. But enjoy, and then we'll reset up for the next one.
All right, so I am drawing a corner here. I'm going to show you on the ruler. I take the 45-degree angle line. Let me get the camera adjusted here. 45-degree angle line here. I line that up along the fold, and I slide it until the other edge is where the two edges come together. So now I'm just going to put these two edges together, making sure that they line up. And now I'm going to sew. I teach 13 different mitering techniques. This is just one of them. I'm going to put my needle back in the center. And I like using this foot for that because I can see the rudder right on the center. I know that I'm lined up. And I'm going to start, I started down a little bit. I'm going to back stitch just a couple stitches. It's the edge joining or the stitch in the ditch foot. And then when I get to the end, I'm going to back stitch just a little bit and then cut my thread. I'm going to cut it with my scissors. I'm going to trim the corner down just a little bit. I'm going to finger press this open. And we'll do some more mitering techniques on Saturday too, because I'm going to do quilting stuff then. And there we go. Bada boom, bada bump. Perfect mitered corner.